Welcome back after a lengthy hiatus to the randInt podcast with Raffy and Chandra. Huzzah! Yay!
Yay!
Okay, I had to let it run for a little while because, we haven't used it in a while. So,
Yes,
Chandra, I feel like we've been planning all these episodes, but it's been so long that I think we just need to start with a how are ya? So, how are ya?
I've been all right. I'm
Yeah?
finally back on the boat. I think last time I was still in Bunbury. So currently, I'm literally floating off the west coast. Oh, yeah, the west coast of Africa. There's a group of islands called Cape Verde, which is, if you look at the left-hand side most point of Africa, then you go sort of 500 miles to the left. There's a little bunch of islands there, and that's where I am right now. So I came down for another little group of islands called the Canary Islands further up. It seems the Canary Islands is where all the UK people fly for their winter holiday. And then the Cape Verde Islands is where people come to either kite surf or there seem to be retirees from France and Germany. That seems
I
to
don't
be
know,
the
man.
two groups of people.
It just seems like you're getting closer and closer to like Piratesville. It's like you're trying to be like, not Pirates of the Caribbean, Pirates of wherever the ocean you are in.
Nah, this is well far away from too many people. If the Pirates manage to make it out this far, good on them. They've got a really good boat. I don't think they really need to pirate anyone. They're doing pretty well. But
I feel
these
like
islands have been interesting. So the first island I was at just before was called Sal, and it's the first island you hit when you arrive there. It's basically like a desert. It's kind of, it's what you would imagine. I went to visit Africa, and it looks like that. But then the rest of the islands are these lush green volcano kind of like Jurassic Park looking islands. So very contrasting.
Did you see dinosaurs?
No, because I'm on the way right now to one that looks more Jurassic Parky.
How many islands are there in this group of islands?
I think it's about 6 or 7 of them.
And are you visiting all of them?
We'll see. Probably not all of them. Basically, there's like a line at the top and a line at the bottom. Once you go to the line at the bottom, you can't really go back up. The wind doesn't blow that way very conveniently. So you kind of just pick and choose a few, and trying to pick and choose the ones where it's a bit less inhabited. Check those ones out. There's some where it's just like a rando fishing village, and that's about it.
Okay, so all of them are inhabited. So they're not like,
There's one
like ones
uninhabited island, which keen to visit. But I think there's just like a small chunk of rock and there's a beach. I'm like, ta-da, visited. Done. Better mind.
Yeah, Chandra was here. Put an air tag there so you can find your way back.
In case someone steals it. Gotta say, one interesting thing though, that island is like known as, basically they've got an international airport.
What?
22 of the...
In the uninhabited island?
No, the inhabited one I was just at.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
it's uninhabited except for the international airport. But at that international airport,
then piss off.
There's like 2 military massive, like, those cargo carrying jets. The ones that look like there was like 2 of them sitting there. It's like, not what I expected, but sure. They're really shipping in the tourists by the truckload.
Because no one would ever. Well, I suppose with everything going on in Ukraine and the Middle East, it's like, well, go the direct route, or we could go to these tiny little islands in the middle of nowhere.
But traditionally, actually, this is the way like the old ships of like the oldie day went as well. So they go from Europe over to the Canary Islands usually first, and then over to the Caribbean. So, but half the boats would also come down a bit further south. And it's kind of like the saying was, go south till the butter melts, i.e. the water warms up a bit, the heat warms up, and then you go to the left. So I'm taking that route. And it's essentially the same route that people have used for like, ages.
As your butter melted?
Yeah, it started to.
Okay.
Which did make it, well, no, the coconut oil has melted, which has made it much easier to make granola. That's what having to melt the oil first.
I feel like, last time we tried to plan a podcast, it was you're in Bunbury, and I think we got one done. But looking back, because we've had so many stops and starts, I was looking through their old ones. It turns out when you're on the boat, we actually record more frequently, even though it's like 7 different time zones apart and it's constantly changing?
I think it's much easier. Yeah, that's the other challenge I've been having to work through is balancing work from boat with Melbourne hours with a changing time zone, because
Yeah.
I'm in one time zone now, which is like UTC -1.
Okay.
And then I'll be crossing the Atlantic in maybe another week or two. And so then it goes from -1 to -5 over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. And then I'll be -5 for a few months. So interestingly, of course, I employed my good friend ChatGPT to help me solve this problem. I was like, here are the
Wait.
constraints.
5 minutes and 45 seconds before we hit AI for the first time.
Wait.
Episode.
Apple, Tesla. Anyway.
Crypto.
Ooh,
I think that covers everything. Hey, Bitcoin just hit all-time highs today.
Giggity.
Yeah, it was like 100K USD, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Keep going. Don't stop.
Yes.
See, Trump is good, is what I'm told.
Oh, well, I gotta say, like, it's kind of been weird because this is, dear listeners, like our third attempt at actually recording a podcast, because every other time, like there was 2 times we got on a call, but see, my version for the last few weeks has been like helping Chandra's startup iScribe. So every time we've gotten on, it's been like little tasks and we get sidetracked by that because I haven't been installed from the start. So I'm coming into it halfway through and there's all the software that's already like there's processes and everything set up. And knowing Chandra, I'm sure there's like tiny little things that are hooked up to automations. And I'm like, oh yeah, that I would use that as a trigger. I probably shouldn't fiddle with that. But then I also know that he will have started it and forgotten half of it. So then I'm like, I don't know if this was set up to be a trigger or is it an actual trigger to automate all this stuff. So I have to like come up with these flows and then go through it step by step to just make sure I haven't broken something else and people aren't ending up with like 200 marketing emails or this, that, and the other. So we have been chatting, but it's been totally boring from a podcast point of view. It's like, hey, let's go through the workflow diagram of how this process maps out.
It's like, hey, here's the spaghetti from before. Please fix.
Yeah. Actually, I have still got a bit of spaghetti to fix on that note. But that's probably been the most interesting thing that I've been up to is kind of helping iScribe, but also like the other startup as well. And actually, this happened last week, which was one of those things like, I was just doing a little bit of reflecting and I was like, oh, this week felt really, really, really satisfying. And it was because like, HubSpot, right? It's this email marketing, CRM, automation software. Like, it's just
very much your wheelhouse.
Well, this was the thing, because I've never used it before. Like, I think I signed up to when it was first, like, when it first launched years and years ago.
But you use email automation tools. That's just...
Yeah. This was the thing, is that I've used the basic version, but there's enough of the basic version that's been layered on top of it, right? Like, it was basic and it got layered on top of. And the fact that this random bit of spaghetti knowledge, like, it's not detailed knowledge at all, but it was actually useful. Like, this thing that other people are manually doing, you could just go in and it's not particularly hard, but it's this tiny little easy thing that's been getting the team stuck on something and being able to solve that was actually like genuinely satisfying. And on the other side, so the other startup, they've been trying to do like, the OCR, like basically trying to scan text. But they were trying to basically reinvent the wheel. And anyway, so like you showed them, I said the same. Yes. We should go back to ancient Sumeria and keep on reinventing wheels over and over.
I don't know. I just need my boat. I wish there was some round thing that would make it move over the water.
On that note, I have to find this ad. Have you seen this ad where it's like it shows you this little clip of like ancient humans, right? And they have this giant wheel, and it looks like they're fixing an axle, and they're like rolling it, and you're like, oh, is this the invention of the wheel? And then the end of the ad is like they've actually tipped it on the side, and it's actually a stripper pole.
Priorities.
Yeah. I was like, I can't remember what the ad is for, but I just remember that part of the ad, and I was like, it's like very well, cleverly pulled, but I genuinely can't remember what the ad is for. So I'm like, well, like,
I assume that's what they're selling.
I think it was a beer, but I can't be sure. So I'll have to try and find and put it in the show notes if you're curious. And also, I'm just curious as to what it was actually for.
Me too.
But yes, so on the other startup, the other thing was like, so you basically, you and I basically had the same solution, right? So I showed it to them, and there's developers. I'm not a developer. I'm kind of like a fiddler, right? So I was like, okay, this is roughly what I did. This is kind of the thing. And they were like, oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. So I was like, and so I got tagged in a WhatsApp message going, hey, can you help? And I was like, oh, 3 paragraphs, right? And then I see the developer go following. And then later in the day, this is something they've been working on for 8 months, including 2 weeks before this message of actually trying to get what you and I had showed them up and running. 6 hours later, it was live. And then they were like, oh, there's this other problem, right? And I was like, oh, 2 extra lines. But I'm like, oh, if you do this and this to the chat prompt, it'll fix it. Fixed. And I'm like, holy crap, this spaghetti knowledge is actually useful. Like, it was just one of the most, like, as in, you know, you sit there and you're like, it's not my role, but it's also like, I feel like I genuinely don't know what I'm doing, right? Like, it's just, and no, just little bits here and there to piece together. But it was like the first demonstrated, proven point where all the random Python courses, all the LLM, like ChatGPT messing around, actually had a demonstrable outcome, and it was all in the same week. So I was like, oh, it's on a bit of a high there.
It sounds like the kind of like, you know, the Steve Jobs thing of, you know, like you don't know where the dots will connect. I forgot the name of that. The actual quote of that.
Yeah. It was very much that, and it was kind of very satisfying on being able to
connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards.
Yeah, that's the quote. Yeah, it was kind of like, well, it wasn't even like, if you look at the problems, there were plenty of people who should have been able to connect the dots. Like, they had the pedigree, but it was not just a random mishmash of just the right thing to look at it slightly.
Yeah, it's just that you happen to have experimented with just the right things. And happen to have just the right combination of skills, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, and it was kind of, the ridiculous thing was, because I'm still on sabbatical, right? In Stanford, I was doing this, like making MCQs from this automated pipeline thing. And it was the prompting for that, which was the second part, which was like this random little things you add in to make it more efficient. So I had like 6 versions of this prompt, and it was that. So I was like, you know what? I was pretty chuffed about that. And
nice.
Even though it's been a bit busy because I'm back to private work and I'm still doing like a course for sabbatical, it's it's been like this little bit of practical application of knowledge. And I'm just like, I've really enjoyed this. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is you should do more of this and less of clinical work.
Well, okay. Another random experiment. And this was like, even for my wife, she's like looking at me slightly weird. It's like, you know how for the last few years, everyone's been like, hey, you know, my therapist said this, and like, you know, I've been going to therapy. I was like, I don't have any acute problems. All right, I'll give therapy a go. So I signed up to Better. Right?
Yeah.
And it's been interesting, especially because they're like, so what's the problem? They're like, I don't really have any problems. Like,
not that I'm aware of.
Just like, you know,
right.
Let's
so
dig around for a bit.
I am God. I am perfect. You're like, cool. All right. I see the problem.
I think, genuinely, I think the first session was kind of like that, because they're like, okay, clearly you're delusional, right? But then we kind of poked around. It was like the first few sessions were like all over the place, right? Like, genuinely, it was like, do this survey. Maybe you have this. My favorite was like, they gave me an ADHD survey, and it came back that I didn't have ADHD, and I'm like, oh boy, now we know that the accuracy is poor on that one. So, but then they were like, look, it's probably not a disorder if you're functional. I'm like, okay, I'll pay that. But the interesting thing
but
has
here's
been
7 others. I didn't finish that survey, but here's 7 other ones I did finish.
There was actually a few surveys, because I think they just do like a set of screeners to figure out stuff. The interesting thing has been 2 points, which I never would have come to on my own. It's basically like I don't even know what therapy is, right? Like, it was like, it's just talking to a person, right? But it's nice having someone who is semi-qualified that you don't know. They can they can only ever reflect back what you've said. Like, it is a direct mirror response. Like, they do not know you, right? There is no other context except for like an hour at a time. So you know that this is like the best blind spot monitoring system you can ever have, right? And they're trained to poke at the thing that you're trying to avoid. And so after like 8 sessions, there was like zilch effect before. I was like, like, you know, I gave myself 3 months, and I was like, look, I don't really need it. Like, I'll muck around with it.
Experiment.
The one interesting point was she was like, okay, she pointed out something because she's like, yeah, you're trying to avoid this question. And I was like, huh. And the answer to it, she was like, oh, why are you doing this project and that project and that project and all this? Like, yeah, there's too many projects, including this podcast, right? And the thing that I came to was, I am trying to do the most that I can as a single person team. And I don't necessarily know why. Like, I have this weird aversion to growing a team. Like, you know, like I tried, like it's grown to a team. Now, like I, at some point, don't want to manage that to the point where I'm like, all right, I get to this point, and then I'm going to change track and do a different
something else
project altogether until I get to like the maximum that I can do as n=1. And I am now hitting the limits of basically every single project that I started of where the n=1 stops. And it's like really, like,
so
I was like,
the main thing to do is start some new projects.
The thing is, all the new projects are now iterations, right? Like, as in, the thing is, if you look around, both you and I just do stuff we actually want to do. Right? There's not that much that you're doing or I'm doing that we don't actually want to do. And the problem isn't so much that we hate life. It's just too much of a good thing not scaled up to the next level of the good
problem
thing.
Of eating too much from the buffet, which will tie in to the random fact of the day from me later today. That will continue.
Wow, what a bit of foreshadowing we have there. It's like we're becoming pro at this and this podcasting thing. Oh, actually, on that note, we do have an exciting thing. We finally have another listener message. Yay! This is not an audio message. This was a comment that literally, this was the other thing. Last week was great. It was all this stuff, and then the user comment, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
It was so nice to see. I was like, sweet.
Yeah. Especially because we haven't recorded anything for like, months now, right? So this listener...
motivation to get back to it too.
Yeah. I'm probably going to butcher the name, but Aris Enna is actually from Melbourne. So this is what she says in the text. I've just discovered this. I'm up to season 2, episode 2 as I write this. So funny. I love listening to you. Please keep the pod going, which I copied and pasted to you and to Jen, who's our person who actually edits and uploads all these podcasts for us. And so I was like, hey, thank you so much for the compliment and the comment. You know, we're trying to fix a time to record, but this comment has actually made our week. So, you know, thank you. And she actually responded 3 days ago with, oof, you made my week replying to the comment. I'm also in Melbourne, couldn't fit this in the last comment, but as a vet nurse and a cat lover, the cats feature is, at a cat lover, loving the cats featuring. Please give the cats a big cuddle for me. Okay, I have done that. And Chandra, she is 34 with congenital cataracts, so you may be the one fixing her eyes one day if you ever start working again. So it looks like you're going to have to start a clinic in Melbourne.
Happy to sort anywhere between May and September.
And if you go to Bunbury.
Yes. Bunbury's the best, though.
Well, wait.
Think it was like
Thank you, dear listener, for the comment. And if you do have comments, that's not twice. Oh, you can have 2 claps. Please do leave them in the Spotify app or anywhere you see it, the podcast. And you can also record a message on the Spotify website, I believe. So that means it is time for... Slight delay there. Growing Up Brown Story. All right, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I've actually got a good one. It's not a, bloody brown people one, but just remember, like, when I was really young, like, I really liked cars. But when I was just got my
so
L
unique.
plates. Yeah, very.
So that's never happened to any
Absolutely
male
not.
whatsoever.
Never ever. But as soon as I got my L plates, like I had all this, like the plan to get the car, and also being brown, the cheapest, fastest thing was the 180 SX back then.
Oh, is this? Yeah. Okay.
Cheap, fast, and reliable.
Yep.
But
Yep. You had that for a
surprisingly,
while.
that was a great car. Loved it. Couldn't really go into most driveways, but that's not a problem. That's a different problem. But the nice thing was actually, at the time, parents were super supportive of it. And I remember when I first got the
What?
car, because I bought it,
Like seriously, they were supportive of this?
well, my dad. So it was quite useful.
Okay.
So, a little bit of a two-part thing. But rather than being like, no. I remember actually when I got the car, because I got it in New South Wales. So, bought it over the phone, had it inspected, and I was like, all right, seems good. Done some research. Let's get on with it. And then I flew over, and it was kind of nice, actually. Ended up being a road trip back from New South Wales with my dad, brand in the, 180 SX.
Yes,
Which,
it's such
of
a
course,
spacious car.
very spacious car that my dad has to like fold into, and is like, ow, my back. And he brought his extra like beads to sit on and everything. It's not a car made for people who have back problems.
It's also not a car that's made for anyone who has any love of suspension. Like
Yeah,
that thing was
no.
lowered to the hill.
Suspension slows you down. Please, have proper
Oh.
racing coilovers, because it's tougher.
Now, dear listener, if you ever have saw this car in person, you would know that half the time it had tires that had zero tread. Like Chandra would swap it out with like stuff. Literally, it was for drifting in. So half the time it'd bring it to uni, and you're like, dude, it can't be street safe. And he's like, got a little bit of tread. It'll be fine. It'll be
Still
fine.
good.
It's dry
It's
today.
still good. It's still good. Because yeah, I mean, if you burn some of the tires, like, you don't want to buy expensive tires. So I did find on the
I
other
think you
extreme,
spent.
when I started going to the racetrack, that it turns out you can actually get tires from just tire shops. Once they're taken off, they had a second set of rims, which is great, because then you just go around to the tire shops. They'll just give it to you for $3 or $5, because you're taking their old tires off them, put them on, and you keep in the boot. So when you get to the racetrack, you've got spare rubber to burn.
Yeah, so in this phase, all I knew that Chandra was doing was constantly swapping his tires back and forth.
Yeah, I got very good at that. And I had hydraulic lift and everything. It was great. I changed
Yeah,
tire well.
not just slightly obsessive with these things.
No, not at all. But the nice thing was, again, so when I was on my Elfling, I had my dad with me, driving this back with me, which is kind of nice, to be honest. Looking back, I'm like, that takes a bit.
Well,
And then after that, still supported, because went to the racetrack and stuff. That's great. I was the only one there, like with my dad coming along, who doesn't know anything about cars, but was there anyway to give me a hand and support nonetheless.
did he get into the car as you were gunning it on the
No.
racetrack?
No, like, you're on your own.
Yes. Well, I do remember some of our country drives in your RX-7 and my RX-8. It's like
Fun time.
yeah. I don't think your dad would appreciate it. He's like, actually, I'm going to change
Great
my
Ocean
growing
Road
up brown
rides.
story.
So yeah, it was. I'd say this is a warm growing up brown story.
Well, I mean, I'll give you the contrast, right? I was going to do something else, but I've just realized there's a better one for this. So yours is, dad very supportive of this little interest, and off you went, right? Mine's kind of like back, like, I have random audio equipment, even though I cannot play a single instrument, including the beat making stuff, which I have annoyed you at great length.
Yes, that is Raffy's primary music learning skills has been, how do I annoy Chandra most?
You were like, hey, if you want to learn a guitar, yeah, I think you were like, hey, I'll teach you guitar. I'm like, guitar? I have random beat making stuff that does not sound good. I could just play it next to your ear. My favorite was still like, there was this iPhone app on the old iPhone 3GS where you'd shake it and it would do the stuff. So he'd be asleep. I'd just go up to his ear and do like this.
Thank God we didn't have the Google Home things back then.
Oh, so years and years ago, my my obsession with audio equipment goes way back. And actually, it was the same artist who made that app. he brought out this album. It's BT, and it was this album called This Binary Universe, and it was one of the few, I think, still to this date, albums that you could get on a DVD that was Dolby DTS. So it was like a 5.1 surround sound album, like, not just a standard stereo speaker. For you to fully appreciate it, you needed like a 5.1 system. So I specifically went out and bought a laptop that had a optical out, because it's the only way you could get this uncompressed thing, right? So like I was like all in on this. And then the next problem was, is like the speakers that would plug into this were ridiculously expensive, right? Except for one. And the Logitech, makers of this mouse, used to make this thing called the Z5500 THX certified speaker.
That's what I had too.
Yeah. Like it's
I had that for like 10 years. It was great.
Yeah. I still have it. It's in my parents' garage. It's like this, it's those old school 5.1 systems.
$500, and it was like a 5.1. You get 4 individual speakers, proper sub, optical input. That was nuts.
With the decoder, it was
the equivalent one was like $2,000, and this is like $500. It was great.
So broken ones currently sell for over $1,000.
So it's an appreciating asset.
It actually was an appreciating asset after it got discontinued. Anyway, so I buy this laptop, and my parents are like, "Oh, it's a laptop, but yes, it's for school." Like, it was like that backhanded kind of brown person thing of like brown parent thing. It was like, you have spent so much money, but okay, at least it is for school, right? And then when I got this speakers, right? And I basically got like a verbal hiding about it, about like, it's like, you're just spending all this money, and it's like, why do you need it? You're just going to go deaf. You're going to be in like, I think I was like in my early 20s at the time. It's like, by the time you're 30, you're going to have hearing aids. And like, why do you even need to listen to music? We used to just hum it in our heads and it was fine. Like, that sort of stuff, right? So anyway, like played the album, loved it. It was like, you did the full 360 around, like you could close your eyes and it would feel like these instruments. And anyway, I loved it. So it turns out years later, right? My mom tells me, it's like, oh yeah, your dad, like, loves these speakers. And I'm like, hang on, what? He was the one who really tore it into me. He's like, yeah, I remember the day you brought it in and you set it up. And we were like, yeah, this is really terrible, da. And then, we shut your bedroom door and your dad was like, he's just bought some really good speakers, hasn't he? Like, you can really hear it through the walls. And so to me, they were like, blah, 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 this is terrible. And secretly they're like, how? Those were really fun. It took them 3 years.
They were upholding their values. They were like, all right, we don't want him to grow up being not a tight ass, therefore we must give him a hiding. However, there's good speakers. They stuck to their values.
The corollary to that is that just my mom just today left for overseas, right? And we're talking about this, and I was like, see, you guys, you're retired now, you're just traveling around. But back in the day, you used to like always yell at me. It's like, yeah, but the thing that I haven't told you is for the last however many years, like 10 years or something. So they don't travel as much. They've started traveling a lot more. So they will go and hang out with their friends, and their friends will be like, oh, we've been here. And she'll be like, oh, my son's been there. And so I'm used to the thing to go, oh yeah, and he said this and he said that. And I'm like, what? So you're yelling at me for traveling, but then going, oh, I will use the thing as if I've done it.
Thank you.
So I'm like, I'm not sure if that's a common brown person thing or not, but I feel like it is, where it's kind of like they must appear disapproving, even if they're slightly pleased on the inside. Because how dare they show approval? How will the A pluses happen?
Exactly. It might be A minus.
All right. Well, I'll save the other growing up brown for another comment coming our way, hopefully sometime in the near future. So
shall we move on to our random fact of the day very quickly?
Yes.
Because I'm about to hit land quite soon.
Okay.
We hear a loud crunch.
There we go. We have a transition sound. Random
transition
fact
inserted here.
Okay. So you go.
I was looking for some squid to buy recently, and this combined because I was looking for squid, which I didn't find, but also went to a restaurant and ate way too much. And here's the random fun fact. So certain squid, their brains are shaped like a donut, and their esophagus goes through the middle of their brain. So you know how you're like, I ate so much that, my stomach exploded? If a squid that does that, technically their brain could explode. So there you go.
Random corollary to that fact. So squids and octopuses branched off on the species line way before, right? And they developed like independent, like the brain system is very different to everything that came after it. So hence they're weirdly intelligent, even though the brain size isn't big. But they, like, you know how humans have distributed neurons in the gut, and it's like the brain gut axis. So they have brain tentacle axis. So some of the neural processing is actually happening independently in the arms. That's why it's so flexible and able to do these intricate things, even though it looks like a relatively simple brain. So another random fact. My one is something that I was like, surely this is wrong. So it is actually in a new Atlas journal/magazine, and it's a crazy experiment where they shone a beam of light, like a laser beam, right, through a specific ruby, like gemstone, right? And they fired another pulse of light, only to see the first beam of light cast a shadow, like light itself cast a shadow.
Oh.
Yeah.
How's
So
that work?
if you fire two beams of light, one of them casts a shadow if it's done in a certain way. So there you go. I don't know how that's possible, but if you were wondering, does light have shadow? Yes, it does.
There you go. So light is not what's needed to move away the shadow.
Yeah, well,
Light
yeah,
is
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Moral of the story is
So
live in the
that
shadow.
is-
Yes, got it. Okay.
Well, there's a second transition. It looks like you are now preparing for landfall and possibly.
Indeed. I need to point the boat in a different direction.
Okay, point it towards the ground. That's the safest. Yes.
Yes. So I'm told.
Or if you're gonna, yes, don't hit it towards the icebergs. And if you do, maybe get a bigger door, so more people can fit on it.
All right. Time to go.
Okay, with that,
Being a good
we will
session.
catch you on the next episode. And do remember to like and subscribe, and do leave us a comment. We have plenty more growing up brown stories. And thank you, dear listener, for Aras and for leaving us the message. And until next
I
time,
look forward to more.
bye-bye.
Bye.